Morning and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Prashant Mavani. I hope you're all doing good. Today is 10th July and let's see what we have got in the Hindu today. But before that, a positive start. It always seems impossible until it's done, isn't it? We all go through this thing. So this has been an experience of Nelson Mandela as well. So if you are a bit surrounded by fear, if you think that it's going to be a bit impossible, then don't worry. At the end of the day, everything will be all right. With this, dear friends, we have many articles on our table today, but not all of them are important. First of all, let me strike out the not important articles. Here you go, this one, and then you have this one and this one. This one is about this cup of surprise. It is about football. This is about this NEET and JEE exams. We have talked about it on Sunday already, isn't it? So basically what this editorial is trying to say is that this competitive exams needs to be, more up to date. They should be practical and things like that. I'm sure we all are, preparing for competitive exam. When I say we, I mean you all are preparing for competitive exams, and many ups and downs and many things that needs to be fixed with the competitive exam. So help yourself with this one. It's going to be an easy read for you guys. And then you have this article, Divide and Fool. After undermining mainstream media, the move is on discreet protest itself. Not that important, I would say, but we have got some very important articles. This one is written by former National Security Advisor living in uncertain times. This article will give you a sort of brief, about what's going on in different parts of the world, and we'll go through it. I will take you through it. I'll give you a bit of background history as well. And this one is about in need of a practical plan. It's about filling these vacancies that we find in lower judiciary. Don't blame it on WhatsApp. This lynching that is going on, and government has basically passed this buck on WhatsApp. But there are three important facts that are given in this article here, and this is about high on atmospheric. It's about a drug issue of Punjab and how this government of Punjab is trying to tackle this drug problem in Punjab. We'll go through all these articles, but before that, dear friends, I would like to introduce all of you to our Pindrop and Develop courses. They are available for you guys. As you can see on your screen, we have covered so many different exams, and the most important point is that this pen drive and tablet courses are designed by the best faculties of our country. So the quality that you are going to get from our pen drive and tablet courses is going to be of top of the range. Once we are done with this article analysis, I will take you through. I'll give you one example of UPSC pen drive and tablet course. With this, dear friends, registrations are open now. Today you will be provided with this this test series, right? And I beg your pardon, I have not informed you guys that this discount, right, is a bit over now, because all those guys who have registered earlier on, they have been able to get this discount. But anyways, the good thing is that you will learn so many things from this 40 test series. Last 2018's prelims, 65 questions out of 100 were covered by us, right? So this is the success ratio of our test series. And dear friends, don't forget to share this lecture with your friends and other people. Now, one thing that I would like to tell you is that I get messages on regular basis that please share this. Yesterday, I do believe that it was my fault that I completely forgot to share this thing. But you have to go through my page, right? I do share it, so just help yourself. And other guys as well, do help if you find any queries. You get notification because you hit the like every time I share something. So please help your friends or your co-aspirants. With this, let's start with this living in uncertain times. This one is a very important article because, it will take you through the whole world, what's going on in the world today. Let's try to understand this thing with the help of this map, as you can see on your screen. Of course, I can zoom it up as well a little bit, but now I have to write down something on it. So let's start with these two countries here. This one is USA, and here you can see a tiny country, right? It's going to be a map exercise as well. You have two countries here, Republic of Korea and Democratic People's Republic of Korea. So the northern one is of course North Korea, and then you have South Korea. Now South Korea is a very good friend of USA, but North Korea is an arch rival, or shall I say that was an arch rival. The reason I'm saying was is because so far USA has termed this North Korea as the principal part of this axis of evil, right? This axis of evil, it all started with Mr. Bush. He used this word axis of evil for, do you know which countries? It was North Korea, and it was Iraq as well. And since then, right, we have seen that things are gone really out of shape as far as North Korea and USA's relationship is concerned. It was that time, somewhere in early 2000, right? I think it was in 2003 when North Korea stepped out of this non-proliferation treaty, and since then it has proliferated its nuclear weapons, and we know the situation of early 2018 and 2017. It was looking like that we were going to have a war between this USA and North Korea. But now, after this 12th June's meeting, USA has announced that North Korea is no longer a nuclear threat for USA, as well as it is not the biggest and the most dangerous problem for USA. So you can see, right, this is the first example of uncertainty. Now, something that is very certain, but what we find is that, see, if you are not aware about this thing, let me tell you that Russia, right, Russia has a huge amount of gas reserve, and you can see here Russia is sharing its border with many European countries as well. So Russia has been a very important supplier of gas and other items to very different countries of Europe. Relationships, you see ups and downs, because most of these European countries are part of this North Atlantic Treaty Organization. So because of this thing, basically this NATO is all about controlling, or it's a sort of you can say an army that was designed to fight against USSR, right? Even today we know that the USSR is gone, but NATO is still there. So the main leader of this NATO is of course USA, and we know that even after this Cold War that ended somewhere in 1991, we have seen that rivalry between these two major power has not ended. We do see problems, right? Multiple problems. Recently we have seen that this Salisbury attack, and after that many diplomats from many different countries, mostly they were part of this NATO group, and the USA has also shown this exit door to many Russian diplomats. So we find this sort of issues going on at multiple level. Even during United Nations Security Council meeting or United Nations General Assembly meeting or other meetings, we find that these countries are generally speaking against each other, talking bad about each other. So this is something that we can expect from these two countries, but relationships were quite good. But then later on, what happened is this part here. This is, let me remove it for you and I will show it to you again. This portion here that you can see here, this is Black Sea, and in Black Sea you have a small portion of Ukraine. Earlier on it was part of Ukraine. At present it is part of Russia. It is called Crimea. This was annexed by Russia, and since then we have seen that many countries of Europe, they have applied sanctions on Russia, and relationship has not been that good. In fact, it is at its worst. Now what Russia has done, now Russia has found another partner, and that is China. So here we find another uncertainty that is going on, and most of the time we find that the Western world blames Vladimir Putin for everything that is going wrong in West Asia, beg your pardon, not only in West Asia but in other parts of the world as well. So it's always this blame is on Vladimir Putin. Then we know the case of Afghanistan. We have talked about it many a time, so I don't think so. And I'm sure you know it very well that terror attacks, goes on and on in Afghanistan. We know the case of West Asia as well. Look at West Asia at present. You find that so many issues, are going on at once in West Asia. You know this country Yemen, it's in a state of war since last couple of years, Things are getting worse and worse here. We did a big operation as well. Remember, we rescued our citizens, as well as we rescued or we helped other citizens as well. American citizens were also rescued by Indian Navy and Air Force. So this was a big thing that we did here. And then you know the Syrian issue going on for a very long period of time. We also know these two major players here, you have Saudi as well as Iran, arch rivals of each other. So this issue is going on for a very long period of time. I have explained this thing many times in this platform, so I'm not going into the details of all these things. Syria is nearly, can say that it's not a state anymore. It's on brink of extinction, More and more troubles every single day. Israel and Muslim world, their tensions have peaked as well. Now, it's not just Asia, It's also in things in Europe. As far as politics is concerned, things are not going very well in Europe. I'll give you two examples. The first one is Germany, Germany and Europe after this Brexit. Earlier on, we used to have these three important players. Of course, I'm sure you know they are called E3, and these countries are UK, you have France, and then you have Germany. These are the three most powerful countries of Europe. The most powerful one in terms of economy, in terms of strength and everything is Germany. Second is UK, and then you can say it's France. So now, because UK is stepping out of this European Union, you have two important players left. One is France and the other one is Germany. Now, political parties, or this Angela Merkel, she is in fact a very strong leader, but as far as her numbers are concerned, this is her fourth term as a chancellor, and at present she is basically in power, but it's a coalition and there are so different demands, there are people who are saying that they are going to resign if Angela Merkel will not sort out this issue of refugees. Home Minister, which is called Interior Minister of Germany, has recently said that he is going to resign if this thing is not sorted out. Then in France as well, you find opposition parties, they are not supporting this French government. So if two of these countries, if you find these leaders, this Emmanuel Macron and Angela Merkel, if their government will go away, then it will be a big threat for the survival of European Union. As far as China is concerned, things are going on very well, because here we are talking about a dictatorship, We know that in China you have this one party rule. Xi Jinping is one of the strongest leader. He is going to stay as a president for a very long period of time. A couple of months ago we saw this thing that president forever, Xi Jinping. So as far as economic development is concerned, things are going very well. They have set many targets for themselves to be achieved in forthcoming future. But the problem is that as far as this is all about growth, and it is about lifestyle and things like that, good facilities. But what about democratic rights? What about human rights? In this sense, you see China as a sort of failure. Then you have Russia as well, Russia, as I have told you many things about Russia just recently, but one thing is there, that Russia is also, as I told you, it has found a strategic partner in China, and Russia is also expanding its influence in Eurasia. So here again you find Vladimir Putin, who has been in power for a very long period of time. Then you have this case of Turkey here, when we talk about this west and east where it meets, it is Turkey. So here as well, Erdogan is going to stay there. Dictatorship, something similar to dictatorship that we find in these three countries. In our country, the big problem is that we find our parliament is divided. When it comes to international issues, we need both opposition and the government, right, on the same page. But we find here lack of cooperation. We are not talking about these things, or the responsibility lies on the government to make sure that the parliament is working smoothly. But on the other side, we also find that opposition party is not playing its proper role. So both this segments of both this opposition as well as government, they are equally responsible, if you ask me personally. Right, they need to work together. They need to sit down and listen to each other and speak with each other, talk with each other as far as this uncertainties that are going on around the world are concerned. We started with this North Korea and USA, and recently we have seen, recent past, it was said that Donald Trump is going to be very harsh on Pakistan. He also said that this is not acceptable. Suspension of military aid and other things were announced. But just recently, see this uncertainty, right? Recently, it has said that it is going to provide some support to Pakistan. So this is going to be a big, it's a big slap on our face. Or you can also say that we are being stabbed. Earlier on, we were assured that Pakistan will be dealt very hardly, but now they are going to provide money to them and other sort of support. Now what USA wants from us, they want us to get rid of Russia, to break relationship with Russia, don't buy any sort of military equipments from Russia. They want us to stop this purchase of oil from Iran forever, right? When I say forever, I mean to say that for a couple of years they won't, until and unless they see a regime change in Iran. They don't want us to buy anything from Iran. And these two things, one is defense and the other one is energy security. These two things are very important for a developing country like India. Then other uncertainties as far as India is concerned, we find that we had this Wuhan informal summit, but still, right, you cannot say that everything is sorted out between India and China. Even today, Doklam issue has not been sorted out, and our neighbors are drifting away from us. We have recently seen Maldives, it is going to sign an agreement with Pakistan, right? China's influence is growing here. Then you have Saudi Arabia purchasing some islands from this Maldives. So all these things are taking place, some good and some bad. Recently Nepal is also going to start, we have talked about it just a couple of days ago, that a new route for world trade via China for Nepal. So all these things are going on, and at the end of the day, both political parties, right, Congress and BJP, opposition and government, needs to work together and make sure that we debate all these things in parliament and find a proper solution for it. Now we have another article. It is about high on atmospherics. Now Punjab Special Task Force has claimed that they have arrested 15,000 drug peddlers so far, and they have also claimed that this whole supply chain of drug is choked. So there is no drug available in Punjab at present. When I say drug, of course, I'm talking about this banned substances, right? This psychotropic substances and narcotic drugs we are talking about. Now the thing is, what happens when this sort of supply chain is choked? You find cheaper and more dangerous drugs, right? You will find another supplier, because as I've said this thing many a times, and I'm sure now you know it practically, right? Until and unless you don't stop this demand, right, you cannot control supply, or you cannot control this suppliers. You have to get rid of this demand. If, say for example, if no one is smoking, drinking, consuming tobacco or this sort of narcotic drugs in your friend circle, then there will be no supplier as well. But if someone is doing this thing, then you will find that suppliers will find their own market. It's a very competitive market as well, and it's so competitive and it's so tough competition, cutthroat, actual cutthroat, not just on paper cutthroat, right? It's a proper cutthroat competition. People will definitely cut each other's throat. All these hooligans, they are the ones who are associated with this sort of supplying thing, or supply side is being looked after by criminals. So this is the reason why we find that murders and all these things, and gangsters basically, they run this whole business of drugs. Now the problem is that the state government, or as a matter of fact our country, you can say, right, our approach is that make rules and regulations more and more tough, right? And what Punjab is asking to center is that they want to amend this 1985's act, and they want death penalty for these first time offenders. Can you believe this thing? Do you think that death penalty will stop all those addicted victims? I'm using the word here, victims here, because see, I see it from a different angle, right? Most of the time people, right, who are into drugs and things, they fall into the trap of this thing when they are very young, right? When they are somewhere around in early 20s or in their teenage. When they are in this age, they of course don't know what's going on, what's going to be the future and things like that. A person who is a little bit mischievous, right, will fall in this trap, and this will spoil his or her life, isn't it? And if you analyze this thing, you will also find that it is the seller who will push these drugs, right? It is not a youngster asking for drugs madly. Someone will motivate him, someone will tell him or her that take it, it's only once, you will feel fine, tomorrow you can drop it, nothing will happen to me, look at me, and things like that, etc. And then you will fall into this trap. You would be thinking that I'm telling you the story of Sanju. Not at all. This is a reality. This is how it works. Now the problem is, if we want to get rid of it, then of course we need to have proper rehabilitation centers. Do we have that many? No. Do we have societal support? No. Mostly what happens is that we start hating these people who are taking drugs. But the thing is that after a second or third time, they cannot help themselves, right? They cannot help themselves. They basically become this heavily addicted to this thing. So without medical intervention, without proper support and education on this thing by teachers and families and society, I don't think so we would be able to get rid of this problem of drug. And only then you will find we can choke. You may find this is not practical, but we don't have any other option. We have tried bans in different parts of our country, different countries as well. They have applied these bans, but this thing has never worked at all. You need to work on this demand side. Good hospitals, good rehabilitation centers are the key to it. And rather than shaming those people who are taking drugs, we need to get rid of these peddlers. The biggest criminal is this one, right? The person who is selling drugs or injecting drugs to someone else. And this idea of government that it is going to do this DOP test of 3.4 lakh employees, government employees, is again sort of, it's a wrong direction, because it's not this government employees. We don't find that government employees are the ones who are taking drugs, right? And if you don't take drugs for a couple of days, then this will not be found in your system as well. So this is not the proper direction in which you need to invest your energy. With this, dear friends, this one is about don't blame it on WhatsApp. Last Sunday we talked about this lynching topic in detail, and I have raised many questions as well. I placed many questions, in fact, for you guys to think about. They were like food for thought. So nowadays what we find is that there is a thing going on that in our country people are not mature enough, that there are few people out there, right? They are not mature enough as well. We have to understand this thing. But for that, what we need to do is we need to educate them. When I say educate, I don't mean to say that bring them back to the schools. No, but this sort of advertisement, awareness campaigns and things like that can help, so that people can realize that everything that they find on WhatsApp and Facebook, it's not genuine, it's not legit all the time. If you want to hear something, or if you want to find out something, then the best sources are authentic sources. We should of course believe only things that are coming from authentic sources. Now the other thing is that if we go through three facts that are talked about in this article, the first fact is that these three facts are very interesting. The first one is that first of all, in our country we have no central data as far as lynching is concerned. We don't have any anti-lynching offenses either. We don't have any legal framework. So without data, how you are going to analyze things? So this is the first problem that we find in our country. Paul Brass has said this thing. It's not about ignorance of people. It's not about illiteracy as far as technological use is concerned. It is more about lynching is basically an organized political production. And lynching is conducted to display or to send out this message that a particular community is a dominant community over this other community. This is a part of the core of lynching. So it's never a sort of spot on thing. It is basically a well-planned, organized political production. The other thing is, most of these reports that are written or this opinion that we find in newspapers are straitjacket. Straitjacket basically means they have limited boundary. They don't analyze things from different angle. It's easy to blame WhatsApp, no doubt, that everything is taking place because of WhatsApp. This wide idea has been, it's gone viral because of WhatsApp. WhatsApp, as I have told you earlier on, it's just a platform. Main problem is that no one is talking about that most of the victims are either from nomadic tribes or they are religious minorities. So again, you can see here that it is a sort of organized political production. One more thing, that hardly anyone talks about this local administration. Why local administration is not able to tackle this sort of things? If you don't have intelligence report, if you cannot get intelligence report, then basically you are useless, isn't it? It's your duty to make sure that if anything like this is brewing at bottom or ground level, then they have to sort it out. It is a responsibility of this government as well as local administration. And lynching without end. This was a sort of report that was published. It collected data from 2015 and 2017, these 2 years. And this report again says that it's not, it's a little bit of changes will not help. There are some structural faults that we need to sort out. Like, say, for example, deficiency of law. You have this example here. And then you have this long pending police reforms. It's been nearly 12 years now. Right, and no particular state has applied all these 7 reforms that were asked by Supreme Court. So this is one of the reasons why we find this thing. And Paul Brass has also noted this is the law that the duty of public commentary to fix responsibility and penetrate the clouds of deception, rhetoric, mystification, obscurity, and indeterminacy. Moving on to another item, this one is about in need of a practical plan. Now the thing is that we have some 23% vacancies at district judge level in our district judiciary, but what we find is a PIL has been filed in Supreme Court, and Supreme Court back in time has indicated that we need to follow this rules and regulation, right? It came out with a sort of a stage-wise timeline for lower judiciary appointment, and there are like this for civil judges, junior division 321 days, and district judges you have 181 days. This is about this recruitment cycle, or you can say this examination cycle, starting from this notification till your final recruitment. So this thing is basically 321 days and 183 days timeline that is given by Supreme Court. It's basically about one size fits all, right? This is not how it works, because what happens is that, say, we have example of Himachal Pradesh and Maharashtra. In Himachal Pradesh you have 62 total sanctioned strength, and here you have 1118. Apart from that, on an average, it takes 178 days for Himachal Pradesh to fill this cycle, or for this cycle of recruitment. But for Maharashtra, it will take 443 days. So one size fits all is not going to help us. Apart from that, every different states, right, they have different capacities, resource capacities as well as administrative capacities. So government, or you can say Supreme Court, should rather rely on proper methodological data, and proper studies should be conducted to find out exact timeline. And without flexibility, you are not going to achieve anything here. With this, dear friends, interesting fact is that about our Pindrop and Develop courses, particularly this UPSC one, is that it costs you 22,500, but traditional coaching classes, they take on an average 2 lakh rupees from you as fees. So check out studyiq.com to find out more about it. With this, dear friends, this are important news item you can see on your screen. Supreme Court says that it is ready to go live. Center talks about a proper dedicated TV channel for Supreme Court. Then IISC, IIT, right, they are given this special grants, a special status, Institute of Eminence, and this will provide them flexibility. Supreme Court has rejected this review petition of this Nirbhaya convicts, and Mr. Modi and Mr. Moon, they have inaugurated world's largest mobile factory. Special video lecture was delivered by my colleague yesterday. It is available on our YouTube channel. Make sure you check it out. I have also talked about this thing in PIB analysis of 9th July. And Johnson quits over May Brexit plan. Earlier on, David Davis has stepped out of cabinet of Theresa May, and now Boris Johnson has also given his resignation. A new 7 species of wasp has been found from Amazon forest. It is on the last page of the Hindu. Make sure you go through it. I'm sorry I don't have any economic times news for you guys, but tomorrow for sure I will bring out some for you, and these are your 3 answers, your questions. That's everything. Enjoy your day. Jai Hind.